And I'm actually going live on 3 different platforms right now for the first time, so I'm just checking to make sure that everything is working. When I was doing that, Billy was like, well, are you going to open a portal? Hopefully, if I do, it's to a good place, right? We could all stand to go to a good place right now, especially mentally and emotionally. So with everything that is happening in the world right now, I was thinking through the night about all of the things that I've learned in the last 20 years in my own health journey and my own wellness journey, and some things that I think that regardless of what is happening in the world or what you think about that or what you think is going to happen, a lot of us are struggling with just self-management right now, knowing what to do, knowing what to listen to, knowing should we go out, should we not go out, should we listen to what's being advised, or is that just over the top? And I'm not here to make any judgments about any of that. I am interested in providing you some tips that anybody could do that are tips for self-management during troubling times, which this definitely is a troubling time with everything that's happening. So in no particular order, these are the things that came to me in the night as a download, and I'm hoping that they are a blessing to you guys and are also going to be something that adds value to your life, maybe even gives you something to explore that's new to you while you're at home in self-quarantine, you know, giving your brain something to think about besides just going over and over and over in your mind about everything that's happening. So with that, my name is Erin Oberlander. I'm a certified holistic aromatherapist and herbalist. I am not a medical doctor. I am not a mental health professional. The things that I'm going to be giving you today come from both my training, but also just my personal experience. And these are suggestions of things that that have been really helpful to me and that I've learned. So would love to hear your feedback on this. If this is helpful to you, please share it, especially if you know people that are struggling right now with anxiety and fear, which is something that honestly I've struggled with a lot over the course of my life. Not so much until very recently. Again, it's kind of come back to me. But when I was in grad school, I had the sudden onset of a severe panic and anxiety disorder. So the very first tip that I have for you is dealing with your feelings. Dealing with feelings during this time. So my tip for this is, if you're struggling with anxiety, if you're struggling with fear, or if you know somebody who is struggling with anxiety or fear, which you probably do, first I'll talk to you people. The worst thing you can do for somebody who's struggling with anxiety is tell them not to be anxious, okay? Because they're already trying not to be anxious, and then now they have your expectations to deal with on top of it. So instead of telling them not to be anxious, give them space to explore their feelings and state some of the things that they're experiencing in their body in a non-judgmental way. And for those of you that are struggling with anxiety, I want to suggest to you that, hey guys, nice to see you, that we just learn to observe what's happening in our body and what's happening in our brain and what's happening in our emotions when we're feeling anxious, okay? So this is developing a sense of non-judgmental awareness about how you feel and becoming aware of how that is manifesting in your body. So maybe right now I'm feeling anxious and I'm noticing, man, I have such a pit in my stomach right now. I'm just going to notice that. I'm just going to notice that. I'm not going to try to force it or make it go away. I'm just going to notice it. And I'm just going to allow acceptance for that feeling to come if it wants to, and not try to force it if it's not. Hey guys, good to see you. So with the anxiety, with the fears, with everything, a big problem is not what's happening around us. A big problem is how those feelings feel in our bodies, and that it gets really exhausting to deal with those feelings. So this is something that I've learned that has really helped me when I'm feeling anxious, when I'm feeling panicky, is just to take a moment to observe the specific feelings in my body that I'm having while I'm anxious, and just be very non-judgmental in that. And then along with that, once you're kind of done with the extreme feelings of anxiety, and maybe when you're in a moment of better clarity where you're feeling a little bit more in your body, I would encourage you to practice gratitude. And I don't mean this in a superficial way. I mean, what is it that gives you actual gratitude feelings in your heart right now? What is it that gives you gratitude feelings? It's very important to feel the feelings. It actually kind of starts to rewire the brain for us. So instead of thinking about all the things happening on the news right now, how could you say, I feel super, super grateful that I have a warm house to live in, that I have a warm bed to sleep in at night. I feel super, super grateful that I can still connect with my friends and family on social media, whatever it is for you. So that's our first tip, is dealing with anxiety. And in no particular order, I'm just going to check these off as I go. Hey, Christy, love you. Okay, second thing. And this is so hard for Americans because we're all about our work ethic, but we need to focus on sleep right now. Sleep is when our bodies have a chance to catch up with everything that they need to do during the day. And so many of us almost have a martyrdom complex about how much we're not sleeping and how busy we are. And right now is our chance, is our opportunity to start getting over that, because it's kind of crazy. Like we wouldn't expect to not put gas in our car and expect the car to work. So I don't know why we do that with our body, why we don't give our body what it needs and then expect it to be able to perform at its best, fight off things that it needs to fight. You got 7 hours of sleep last night and feel amazing. That's incredible. So with sleep, some things that I want to encourage you, if you are in a self-quarantine or stay-in-place kind of situation, or you're choosing that for yourself, allow yourself right now, if you're able to, with whatever your family situation is, to sleep as long as you need to. Yes, go to bed early. Yes, sleep in. If ever there was a time for us to embrace this, it is this moment in time right now. If you're a person that has a hard time going to sleep at night, that is me, I'm a night owl. Get yourself some chamomile tea or some other kind of calming tea and make yourself a little ritual at night that you're going to make some tea, you're going to read a book, you're going to turn your devices off a little bit earlier and allow your body to calm down. The other reason why that's so important is because a lot of us are on overdrive right now with our stress hormones, whether we realize it or not. Our bodies know that stuff is going on that's threatening, and it is going to take longer to get our bodies into a groove where they want to rest and sleep. So start ahead of time, be to bed early and sleep in late if you can. If you are able to do that, this is the time for that. Now, what's the other thing that people always think is part of a healthy lifestyle? Well, it's exercise, and exercise is amazing. But here's the thing about exercise, and you can find lots of studies out there about this. Actually, Dr. Ben Lynch on his page did a great video about this a few days ago, that right now we want to exercise, but we want to be exercising in moderation. And there's a couple of reasons for this that have been proven in the studies that he cites on that video, if you're curious. One is that when we are exercising for over an hour, or we are overtraining, or we're working out super hard, we are actually pushing our body's natural immune response down. We suppress our immunity doing that for a short amount of time. What we want to do then, instead of that, is moderate amounts of exercise, like going for a walk, like doing a yoga class, something that's already going to calm you down, build in a little strength, get your body moving, get your lymphatic system moving, but have that be an hour or under, okay? So moderate exercise for an hour or under. The other reason that that's so important is that, especially for women, if we're exercising hard for over a half hour, our body does start to have a stress response. And what we want to do right now is calm the you-know-what down. So over-exercising is not going to be fruitful for most of us at this time. If you can get outside and get some fresh air and sunshine with your exercise, double kudos for you. All right, so a couple of things that I want to bring in from my experience studying Ayurveda, traditional Chinese medicine, aromatherapy, that are simple things that we can all do. One is dry brushing. So now I'm starting to bring in some props to keep you interested. Dry brushing is a technique from Ayurvedic medicine, ancient Indian medicine, going back thousands of years. And you can look up how to do this online, but basically you're just going to brush your skin very, very lightly, like butterfly kisses. And you're going to brush, this is also controversial, but I brush toward my heart, or where I know my lymphatic drains are. And what that does is it helps keep your lymphatic system, which does not have its own pump, it keeps that lymph from congesting. When it congests, that's when we're going to have more of a tendency towards picking up bugs. When we can keep the lymph moving, we can really help to support our body's natural immunity. Another thing that does this also is a rebounder. If you have a rebounder or you have a jump rope and you're jumping, those are all things that can really help. Another Ayurvedic technique that can be very helpful, what are we up to? This is our 4th tip now, is something called nausea. I'll try to show this to all of the cameras that I've got here. Nausea oil. And this is something that you do not do when you are sick. This is something that you do as a hygiene practice when you are well. You're going to take that nausea oil, which you can get from Banyan Botanicals. I don't have any affiliation to that company other than I think they're doing great work in the world. So you can get some nausea oil. Basically, it's sesame oil with some herbal infused oils in it. And you drop several drops into your nostrils while you lay back, and you allow that to soak into your nasal passages, sinuses, and things like that. Does a couple of things. For one thing, it keeps those tissues in better shape so that they're not irritated. And when those mucous membranes become irritated, that is also going to make it harder for them to do the work that they need to do for us. So nausea oil is something that I would consider looking into at this time. It's something that helps to, it actually represents what we call metal element in Ayurveda, also in traditional Chinese medicine, which is our body armoring or doing things that can help to build up the body's natural defensive systems. This is just something that is going to be kind of tone those tissues for you and help to keep them ready to fight off the bugs. All right, here's another super simple tip that literally everyone can afford to do, and that is saltwater gargles. And so this is coming from more of a modern hygiene standpoint. If you know about the hygienic doctors in the United States, this is something that they would probably be recommending doing right now. So what you do is you boil some water and you put a couple teaspoons of whatever salt you have. I prefer sea salt, and you mix that up, and then you're going to do a saltwater gargle a couple of times a day. Now, in regards to our current situation, which I am referring to very vaguely because of some of the censoring that's happening, one of the studies that I saw cited said that the amount of viruses that are being found in the nasal passages and throat of people who have been infected is like 10,000 times higher than what we would consider normal to be for virus exposure. So if you've been out and about for some reason, just do a saltwater gargle. I'm not saying that it will necessarily do anything, but it definitely cannot hurt to do that. The other thing that's nice about gargling is it helps to stimulate your vagus nerve, which is the nerve that goes kind of straight down through your digestive system. And when we're stimulating the vagus nerve, what we're doing is calming down our fight or flight response as well. So there's kind of an added benefit when doing a gargle. What are we up to? That's probably 5 now. Okay. Tip number 6. Essential oils. This is my specialty. Why essential oils? Okay, you guys, everybody's talking about essential oils, and I think a lot of people get turned off on them because they're almost overexposed or people make miraculous claims about them. I get that. I'm a professional. I am a certified holistic aromatherapist, and what I can tell you is that there's an enormous amount of research that's being done and has been done on essential oils. And what essential oils are, they are basically the immune system of plants that have been around long enough to evolve the ability to make an immune system. So these plants make these secondary metabolites that are able to fight off bacteria, viruses, fungus, sometimes other plants. And these substances, because we have similar functions and processes and organs in our body to plants, the theory is, and is now being proven, that the essential oils also will help to support our immunity. Now, the other really great thing about essential oils is they have a secondary function in our bodies that we are now finding through the research, and that is that because the nasal bulb that takes those molecules in basically as information is so close to our amygdala, which is basically our fight or flight response in the brain, it has a very fast effect on our emotional response to whatever we're dealing with. And by and large, for most people, the response is going to be to calm you down and help you to have more focus. So there's 3 benefits to using the essential oils. How to use them? There's a couple different ways you can do it. Right now is a time where I would definitely recommend diffusing some essential oils in your home, wherever you are. And how you would do that is you would take something like a eucalyptus, which is a wonderful antimicrobial essential oil, and you're just going to put 1 to 2 drops into your diffuser and diffuse that into your space. You can also do aromatherapy inhalers, which is you just put a little bit on a piece of cotton ball, and if you're out and about, you can be smelling it that way. I think diffusion is probably the easiest way to create some community immunity within your homes, especially when we are all trapped up together at this time. Now, conversely with that, I want to say that we want to be avoiding synthetic scents at this time. Synthetic scents are in so many products. They are in, laundry sheets. They are in plug-ins. They are in air fresheners. They are in our body care products, makeup, so many things, perfumes, colognes. These synthetic materials is eucalyptus okay for a 6-year-old? Yes, in very small amounts, Lynn, and give a break, throughout the day. You don't want to diffuse it all day long, but just a break throughout the day. So diffuse for an hour or two and then give a chance for a break. With the synthetic scents, what those synthetic scents end up doing in our body is they raise our stress response. Yes, there is scientific studies out there and proof to show this. They actually irritate our whole hormonal balance system. And then they also are going to be irritants to our mucous membrane. So have you ever walked into a store that has a lot of strong scent in it and you're just immediately like your nose is watering and you're coughing and you're sneezing? That's not an uncommon reaction. And as I was stating before about the Nausea Oil and the gargles, we want to make sure that we're keeping our mucous membranes as happy as possible right now and not irritating them with synthetic scents. So now is a time to explore essential oils, and if you are intimidated by that, that's actually what I do. I love this kit because it has everything in it that you would need for a first time try, with things that are going to help with a variety of different challenges that you might be having. Okay. Along with essential oils for the stress response, my very, very favorite thing, and I forgot to grab it, is my Adaptogenic Elixir. This has been the number one life-changing thing for me in ease of dealing with my own stress levels in the last 5 years of my life. Adaptogens are herbs that have been around for thousands and thousands of years, have been used in traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, indigenous medicines of all kinds, and they are plants that grow in the most stressful situations that have developed a tenacity to live in those challenging environments and conditions. And because of that, they have a potency from an herbal standpoint that allows our own bodies to be supported in that same way. My favorite adaptogen is ashwagandha, but I love to use it in concert with a whole bunch of other adaptogenic herbs in small amounts, kind of in a synergy, which is, as an aromatherapist, what we often do with blending. When you put things together, oftentimes the result is greater than the individual parts. It's something that's so incredible. So I use my Adaptogenic Elixir at least once, sometimes twice. Right now, I'll be honest with you, it's like 3 times a day, which is a good thing, just to help with that stress response. So adaptogenic herbs, something to look into, something to research a little bit more about. Okay, 3 more things and I'm done, and these will be fast. Along with the adaptogenic herbs, there's a class of mushrooms called medicinal mushrooms, and they are not what you think of. They're not psychedelics. They are ones that help to support the immunity and the body's overall processes, but it happens from a little bit different standpoint than with our adaptogenic herbs. And it can be overwhelming when you get into medicinal mushrooms, and not all of them are necessarily helpful for our current situation. I use an immune shake booster in my morning protein shake every morning that has several medicinal mushrooms in it, as well as some yeasts that help to support the immune response to be positive and healthy, not over the top, but just where we want it to be, nicely modulated. And this is tasteless. and has basically no calories in it. So that's awesome if you're watching those types of things in your life right now. So medicinal mushrooms, also high density nutrition. So when you're making your meals, not just eating a bunch of junk right now because you're home, but looking for the densest, nutrient densest, I should say, whole food options for yourself and your family. Greens, beets, things that have a lot of color to them are things that we want to be gravitating toward right now. And if that's very challenging for you, I would encourage you to seek out a cold processed greens powder, which can help to supplement those places where we might not be able to get everything we need from our whole foods. And this is the one of the ones that I love to use for that purpose. And I just find that to make getting nutrient density in throughout my day a lot easier. Two last things and then I'm done. These are our last 2 tips for troubling times. This one is a little bit more of an advanced tip, but it is to try some intermittent fasting right now. Now, don't go crazy with this, because if we go too far into fasting and over the top with restriction, we will actually increase our stress hormones, which is not what we want to be experiencing right now. But a moderate amount of intermittent fasting can do a lot to allow the body a chance to catch up on its natural processes that it needs to go through throughout the day. Basically, when we go into a fasted state, our body goes into spring cleaning mode. It can get into the cells and get rid of junk that it doesn't need. It can get it out of the body. I like using intermittent fasting for this because you can work it into more of a normal lifestyle rather than being in a fasted state for 3, 4, 5, 10 days, which I've also done. But I find intermittent fasting to work the best for me when I'm doing it in short bursts, and I'm also supporting my body with some botanicals while I do that. When we intermittent fast, there's some good research out there to show that our immune system is supported, and a lot of other things in our body are also modulated in a very positive way. For instance, our stress response and a lot of anti-aging activities occur in the body naturally when we're in a fasted state too. That is not something that everyone's going to be able to do, however, so if you have underlying health concerns, if you have blood sugar issues and that kind of thing, you'd want to check with your doctor on that. Maybe not right now. They might be busy. But you can look at a lot of the research out there about intermittent fasting. I support my body with botanicals during intermittent fast just to make sure that my cells are getting everything that they need and my body does not go into a stressed out state. And if that's something that you're interested in learning more about, go ahead and private message me and I can get you into one of our intermittent fasting groups. And then finally, and this is kind of a fun cherry on top, it seems like something that's not important, but maybe I should have put it as the most important one, and that is to practice grounding practices, okay? So grounding practices can look a lot of different ways. One of the ways that's more traditional is to burn a sage or a Palo Santo or some kind of sacred wood like a cedar. These scents, frankincense will be another one, resins. These scents do, in fact, help to clear the air. Microbes, bad energies, however you want to look at that. Windworms is what they used to call them in ancient Chinese medicine. But we also now know that they have a slightly mind-altering effect and that they allow us to go more into a meditative state. So you might want to just take some time to burn some sage. I've got a little sage here, or some Palo Santo, or diffuse or burn some frankincense at this time. It really does calm the body's fight or flight response. Windworms, yes, that's what they called viruses and bacteria and germs back then because they didn't know what they were. They just knew that there was something in the air that was causing people to get sick. Along with the pernicious influences, which are seasonal, going into spring right now, our pernicious influences are going to be wind and excess water. And if you want to learn more about that, I actually have an online course called the Intuitive and Seasonal Living Academy. You can go to intuitiveseason.com and look at getting into class for spring. Since a lot of us are going to have some extra time on our hands, you can learn a lot more about the things that I'm talking to you about today. Other grounding practices, prayer, scripture reading, obviously. meditation, and I really love to use some grounding stones with my meditation. So this is an obsidian that came from California. Any dark colored stone or red or orange colored stone would be great for right now. And even just holding it as a way to help focus your brain. It's not that there's necessarily anything magical about this. It's just a meditation tool for you to use. Like, my intention right now is to ground myself. My intention is to allow my energy to come back into my body. If I'm feeling anxious, instead of floating out here, I'm going to allow my body to come back in. This is something that is very, very, very helpful if you're an anxiety sufferer. So again, you're going to go for dark colored stones and use that as part of your meditation or your prayer time, and just incorporate a little bit more grounding that way. We can also incorporate grounding through things like root vegetables, eating root vegetables, spending time actually in contact with the ground outside. So spending time outside, this is a theme that you're going to hear me say a bunch. Just contact with nature in general can be really grounding. And then I also say whatever to you is grounding, because we are all different. We all have different constitution types, different imbalances and balances within our bodies. So there might be something that your intuition is telling you, or that you're feeling called into doing for yourself right now. And one of the things that I always encourage people is to honor their intuition and experiment with it a little bit, because our bodies have their own wisdom. And if we listen, we can learn a lot. So those are my 10 tips for troubling times. I hope this is helpful to you guys. I just really felt God asking me to share this with you today. This is really, really challenging me personally with all of my emotional balance, and it's reminding me, because of that, how many tools I have to pass along from the struggles that I've had over the last 20 years. So I do hope that it is helpful to you. If you have questions about any of this stuff, go ahead and post it, or you can private message me, and I will make sure that you get connected with what you need. And I hope that you guys are faring the storm well, and that within this, we can remember that we are in this together. We are not alone. Everybody's facing the same things. So let's make sure that we are lifting each other up in this. All right, I will see you next time. Thanks, guys.